Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how to do the ball bounce. Now the ball bounce animation is going to happen in three different scenes. It's going to be basically, you're going to open up a brand new Adobe Animate file, which we've got here. I'm going to say create new. And once it opens up, I'm going to go ahead and from there I'm going to go ahead and allow it to say, just select standard and say create. And once that opens up, then I'm going to go ahead and change over my stage here. So I want to make sure that I play with my stage here so that I have this set up for animating. So I'm going to click my workspace and click on Animator. So I have all my tools where I need them to be. Now you do some changing here to my workspace to sort of adjust things. So I'm going to move these tools over a little bit. I'm going to go over to here and double arrow there, and I'm going to wait. I'm going to drag this over a little bit if I can. Didn't want to move, figures. So I'll move my this side over a little more. There we go. And I will go ahead and adjust my stage over with holding the space bar and left clicking the mouse. So you can see I've got my stage right there, front and center. All right. Now again, as I said before, you're going to want to create three scenes in this movie. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I've got scene one, and I'm going to go ahead and click the add scene two more times. Once and twice. There we go. So for a total of three scenes. So scene one should be labeled opening. So I'm going to double click it and say opening. There we are. And the scene two should be labeled body because that's the body of the movie. And scene three will be end or end card. Okay, I'll just say end. There we go. So I have my three scenes set up. All right. So in your Richard Williams textbook, you should be reading pages 36 through 39 before we really ever begin this. So I just want to throw that shout out there because it's going to give you a really good talk on weight and gravity and squash and stretch, some of the 12 principles of animation. Now, if we go and says move ourselves down here, let's take a look. Is that on the opening layer here, we're going to open up the text tool. Now, I've used that before, so I'm going to go for the T for text here. Click that, and then I'm going to select my color that I want to use. Now, let's say I'm going to use black lettering, and it looks like I've got my alpha on, so I want to change that, and I want to change that alpha back up to 100% there. Let me go ahead and change that. Back to 100%. There we go. So I got my text up. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the artboard here, and I'm going to say ball bounce. And there we go. We got ball bounce on there. Look at that. That's in red. That's all right. We'll go ahead and leave that in red font there. And I've got that. That's actually looks nice. I've got the red actually from up here. Let's go ahead and change that color. Make it solid. Change that color up here, and let's change that to black. There we are. Now we're in black. All right. So ball bounce is what I want. Uh-oh. Better go change that. Double click it. Change it to capital B. So now I've got my text here, ball bounce, but I want to save that in thirds. We talked about this before, and that we're arranging our stage for good, clean setup. We want to set up into thirds. So that first third, about a third of the way down from the top, will be the title card. Got that well placed there. My second one is I'm going to do another row of text with my name. So I type the letter T for text and type my name again. And put my name in. Now, my name is pretty large here. Pretty darn large here, and I want to shrink this down quite a bit here. And so what I'm going to do is, with it selected, I can go up to the text tool here. I'm going to select on that text here. Where my text here? And my static text, and I can go ahead and go to my text and scroll down, and there's my text. Left click on that and drag in. And generally you want your text to be about half the size of the title of the piece. So I click on that black arrow again, and I move that, I center it, and go about a third of the way up from the bottom. There we go. So now I have a nicely balanced page here where I've got about a third of the way down, I've got the main text and the title of the piece, and from the bottom of the third up, I have my name as the artist of the piece. So I've got that set up, and that's that. Now you'll notice up here on the layer up above that I have the, over here I have what says layer 1. I'm going to double click that and label that text. And label that text. So I know that's my text layer. So I have that set. But what I need to do is I need to go ahead and I need to stretch this out for 3 seconds. So I'm going to grab my scrub bar here, drag it over. There's my 1 second mark. And there's my 2 and my 3. So at the 3 second mark, I'm just going to click on that keyframe and hit F5 one time at the top of the keyboard. And that stretches that out so it's going to last for 3 seconds automatically. Because remember, that's the minimum time you want to have for text. move this down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add myself another layer on here because I want to add the background layers. Remember, we talked about you have to have a background color image. Right now, as a default in the program, it just has a white on there. You can apply a color to it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit right up here above the layers, right here on the text button here. I'm going to hit new layer. And there's my text there, but I'm going to go ahead and left click and drag it below. So I need to be below that text. Then on keyframe number 1, this first dot right here, I'm going to go and use my rectangle tool, and I'm going to click and drag myself a rectangle around the artboard. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here, left click and drag, pull that right down around there. Look at that. And it's all gray because I had a gray color here. So I want to change that up. Let's go white with that. Okay. And let me go ahead and select that up here. White. How's that selecting there? I have to have that selected there. There we go. Now we can put that white in there. There we are. Nicely done. There we go. Click off the side and we're good to go. Now you'll notice that when I opened up that new layer, it opened up actually as long as the previous layer. You can see how it opened up equally to 3-second mark. That's one of the benefits, is that if you know how long something's going to be, you open up that first layer and you match it, everything after that will match to it. So with my next here, I'm going to basically go ahead and put that background, and I'll just abbreviate that. G-R-N-D, and background. And I'm going to go ahead and lock this layer and lock the text layer. So I have those two locked right there. So I've got my first step here all set up here. I've opened my movie. I've set up my opening, my body, and the ending scenes. And I've gone ahead and put in the text for the opening credits. Now let's go ahead and do the closing credits. So I'm going to click on the end scene here. And for the end scene, I'm going to do the similar thing now. I'm going to go ahead and type on my layer 1, double click it, and say text, and click off to the side. Then I'm going to click on the T for text tool, and then I'll click onto here. But first, I think I'm going to select that color first and put that black in there. There we go, solid color. There we are. So I'm going to go ahead now and, again, that T for text, put that in there. So we're going to say the end. There we go. Oh, eng. What is eng? And end. And there we are. That's a much better end. So let's go ahead now. While it's still selected here, I'm going to click on that black arrow. Notice my text? It's gone. What happened to it? Well, I need to go ahead and change that color on there. Put that black, that pesky black. There we go. So I've got that on there now. But I want to center it in the middle of the stage. So I'm not going to quite follow the upper third or lower third. I'm going to keep that centered right there in the middle so it looks nice. And I'm going to go and change the size. So I go back over here, over to my text, because again, I'm on my text tool here. So my text up, and I've got my little slider. I can slide up. There's my text. This is 44 point. But notice again, I get that little one finger, and I get that little left to right slider. I'm going to slide it to the right, make it nice and large. Then I can come back to my black arrow, and put it right in the center, and I'm good to go with that. Looks nicely placed. Maybe a little bit to the side. Yeah, it looks good. Now what I need to do is I need to stretch that out for the 3-second mark again. So I'm going to go and stretch this over. There's the 1 second, the 2 second, and the 3-second mark. There it is on frame 90, because remember we are animating on 30 frames per second, so it makes sense that a 3-second mark would line up with frame 90. Click there once, and then hit F5, and this extends this image out for 30 seconds on the timeline. There we are. So again, I've got this locked. So I'm going to go ahead now and add a new layer like we did last time to create a background for a contrast. So I'm going to click on this new layer. There it is above, and I'll left click and drag it below. Double click on it, label it background. And again, we kind of abbreviate that. There we go. But on this keyframe right here, I need to go ahead and I need to put a white background. So again, I'm going to go ahead and select my background here, make that white, and my rectangle. And I'm going to left click and drag myself a box. Goes all the way across. Boom. And one more time just to make sure it's there. Click on that keyframe. I see it's all dotted. I'm going to select that fill color, make sure it's on white. Yes, and I am good to go. So I'm going to go ahead now and lock this layer and lock that layer. So now I have basically 3 things set up. I have my opening layer. I have the end layer set up. Now I need to get into the body of the movie. So this has been sort of the first recording. When I come back, we're going to go ahead and do it. And the next step here is we're going to get into the body of the movie, which is the bulk of our recording. Okay? So go ahead and set yourself up with this part, and I'll see you back in the next clip.